It's now 26 minutes after 8. That means we're on to the last round of this particular show. And on Tuesday, we handle your money or tech central. And today, we'd like to concentrate on your money. And this is a segment where we try and just give some direction in terms of financial intelligence. Now, who better to have in studio than Washeke Duati Omanga, who is from Centonomy. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Michael. Thank you for having me again.
Karibu. We must, let's start by reflecting on 2018. It was a difficult year for many. And there are quite a number of things that took place. For instance, there was the addition of VAT on petroleum products. And that, of course, meant that things went up. I noticed, though, that there was a fuel decrease in terms of price this year, but that does not necessarily mean that commodities are going to become cheaper. But maybe starting with 2018, it was a difficult year for everybody. But that's not a reason to give up.
It's not a reason to give up. And I think we've become so used to thinking that things are going to be up all the way. So if I earn 50,000 this year, next year will be 60,000, next year will be 70,000, next year will be 80,000. Even businesses make the mistake of when they are projecting their revenue. No one projects a revenue downwards.
Correct.
They're always saying my 5-year plan is to move from 10 to 100 and each year will be up and up. But it's not practical because any economy has shocks. But the mistake we have made, and we never seem to learn from this, is that when things are good, when you're in a stable job, when your business is doing relatively well, if you're the university student getting a stable allowance from your parents, some money should always be put aside because shocks are not a surprise. You mentioned about fuel increase in costs. And yes, last year a few things increased more than would have expected them to increase, but generally increase in prices is not a surprise. Over time, if you look at what we're buying bread and fuel 10 years ago, you can't compare. So understand, when people are looking at their money and their financial plan, their businesses, their money, costs are going to go up. So what do people always have to do? One, the discipline of put money aside. Saving. But also, because in the same economy, there's some people who also did very well. Be conscious to understand that when an economy is doing that, opportunities are being created in a different way. And I look at the corporate environment where a lot of people were losing their jobs, and a few smart people that I know went and started working in the SME sector. Same skills and now have become shareholders in those companies. So it may not, your next opportunity may not look like the one you had last. Because before, if you're a banker, you're thinking my next move is a bigger job as a banker with a bigger salary. Not necessarily. And it's time we start looking at how opportunities present themselves in a different way.
Earlier on, we were having a conversation here on our education system.
Yes.
How do you think our education system plays, especially when it comes to finances? Because it seems to me that we have what did I call it? Almost a locomotive mentality, where you finish your education, get a job, then once you get a job, even if you got a fat-paying job, rare is the time that you're told, this is exactly what you need to do, because that job, one, is not permanent, and two, like you've mentioned, shocks are normal.
Yes. I was listening there and I was like, actually, I so agree with that the education system traditionally has been preparing people to go out and get a white-collar job, as you called them. But the opportunities that have been created, 100% of most of the opportunities are not in white-collar. They're in people are becoming personal trainers, people are doing agribusiness, people are setting up driving schools, people are looking at what do people need and how can I actually tap into that need. My own business was not... it was people needed what the formal education system did not do. It did not teach people about business. It did not teach people about money. So what did I do? I set up a school that teaches people, Centonomy, that teaches people about those things. So people must look at and start understanding the way we've been conditioned to think about our careers, about what businesses should go into. I have a very good friend who has a thriving business being at a hairdresser. She used to be a banker, but when she entered that business, people were like, hairdressing, salon, because when we were growing up in school, if you failed school, that's when you went and opened a salon. Do you remember that thing,
Absolutely.
So we've got to be willing to really challenge how we see opportunities and how we also look at ourselves. If you're an accountant, for example, and I know a lot of accountants who are looking for new opportunities, they always think, I'm going to go and set up, even if I retire or I leave my job, I'm going to go set up an accounting business. Not necessarily.
It doesn't have to be that way. It's not written anywhere that that's what you must do.
Yeah.
But moving now from 2018 to 2019, and before we do that, what are some of the critical lessons you'd say we should learn financially? One, from the shocks, and two, from instability, because one of the things that affected many businesses in 2018 was the elections in 2017 into 2018, and some closed shop.
Yes.
Not because they were not hardworking, not because they hadn't done the right thing, but simply maybe because they were not prepared for it.
I'm so glad you asked that question. So it's with regard to businesses, it's with regard to people in employment. That's why I love about money. The principles are usually the same,
across the board.
And I've been having this talk with a lot of businesses because they're like, we closed shop, the economy, the fuel prices, we couldn't sustain. And I guess there's a level of things you can't do anything about because they're external. But very few people, Michael, want to have the hard conversation of what could we have done better? So if you want to start 2019, whether it's an individual level with your personal finances or it's at a business level with your business, the one conversation you should be having with yourself, if you have a team of people, with your husband, even with your children, is what could we have done better? Not what could the leaders have done for us better, not what could the economy have done for us better, not what could my employer have done for us better. And when people have that honest conversation, they'll be like, yes, fuel went up, but I was also wasting money in the bar. Yes, the business environment was not so good, but I didn't even try and diversify. I didn't even talk to my customer to find out what other products or needs could I do. Yes, I'm complaining I didn't have money, but I've been taking money out of my company randomly because I don't separate my business finances and my personal finances. So it doesn't matter. And the thing is, when you're having a good year, it allows you to overlook the mistakes because money is coming in or the salary is coming in easily. So you can get by saying, one day I will fix my problems. But what shocks do for you is to shock you.
Wake you up.
Wake you up. And I think anyone who's ever left a comfort zone will tell you what they experienced is a shock. So what this last year did for us is shock you. So sit and understand what were my lessons. Do I need to handle money in a different way? Do I need to go out and look for additional sources of income? Because that's sometimes what a shock is telling you. You may be working 8 to 5 and that's fine, but what are you doing on Saturday? Because what people who still create wealth in this crisis, what they use very well is their time. They understand the power of using your time.
All right, and talking about that now, let's project and look at 2019. And apart from now what happened the other day at number 14 Riverside Drive, I would say that all things were looking up in terms of the economy. There was a feel-good factor in the country. Politically, things have taken a chilled mode such that businesses now can thrive. From your perspective, what are some of the things that we need to look at now? Because this is the time to plan. It's not to wait until the next January that we feel there's that nja, then we are saying, things don't work out. How do we set up our plan?
Okay, fine. So there are two things. First is the mindset side of the plan, and then there's the practical things that we should do. So in our mindset, progression, success, wealth creation has a responsibility to it. And I think many times people want to say, I want to do better, but I'm going to keep thinking the same way. I'm going to keep doing the same thing, keep having the same conversations. So on a mindset point of view, I'll tell people, one, you've got to get into a different environment. And in Autonomy, we like referring to this thing called the poverty support group. People have a lot of poverty support groups, and I saw them in action last year. Oh, things are so bad. Oh, my employer.
You literally go for a
the
pity
economy.
party.
You go for a pity party, and you're 10 of you in the pity party. And what are you doing in the pity party? Spending money. You're having coffee, you're having drinks.
You're complaining how the economy
you're
is
complaining.
bad.
So number one, get out of the poverty support group, because put your mind in the right environment. There are a lot of programs people can go to. We offer programs at Autonomy. There are a lot of books people can read. You were mentioning a book to me that you really like just now.
Yes, The Millionaire Next Door.
The Millionaire Next Door. But you will find people want to create wealth, but they'll still tell you, I don't like reading. I don't see how the two can go together, because you've got to expand. You've got to expand your knowledge. I've already talked about use of time, and I think that willingness to do things that are uncomfortable. And understanding failure is also not a surprise. People get so scared of failure that they don't want to try. Failure is just part of the game, and if you do fail, it doesn't mean anything is wrong with you. It was a lesson you need to learn, and then actually move on. Now, on the practical side, for people, they have to be very intentional this year. So let's start from the basics. A I know we repeat this, and I think January, me and Michael, you and I have this conversation all the time, and I'm going to start with the basics because it has to start from the basics. People don't like hearing the word budget. Yeah, they don't like hearing the word.
It's a painful word.
It's a painful, and it will restrict me. This is what wealth creation actually means, and this is what people should be trying to do, and this is what they should learn from the economic shocks. It should tell people that I need to have a source of income that whether or not my business is thriving at that particular time or I'm employed, I can sustain myself. If my costs are 100,000 shillings per month, if I lost my job today, I have 100,000 shillings coming in.
That I can still live.
I can still live. I can pay school fees, I can feed myself, I can transport myself. If my business goes through a shock, I have 100,000 shillings still.
That's again talking to saving.
That's still saving and finding alternative investments. We call them passive income investments. So it's going and looking for, it's no longer just about buying land for the sake of buying land. Yeah, and people have bought land and gone rushed in places in buying land. But it's getting into those activities or investments that give you income. It could be finding a property to rent in the correct areas. It doesn't always have to be an example, but it will give you a 15,000 shillings, 20,000 shillings per month. It could be that time I'm talking on Saturday where you do something different that gives you 10,000 shillings a month. But it doesn't start with it automatically giving you 50,000 shillings a month. It will start from small. But it's people being so intentional that I have to do that. To be able to do that, and that's what we call in St. Harmony your factory, build your factory.
Build your factory.
It means I have to sacrifice something. So the cost of this, instant gratification has to go away. Because you still find, even now, as much as people are talking about crisis, they still want to buy new things instantly. They still want to buy new phones instantly. They still want to spend money without being aware where their money is going. So we still have this mentality of somebody will come save us. For some people, that saving is I'm going to bet on sports, and which is a whole other conversation. So again, as people are saying, I don't have money, people are
still betting.
They bet more than ever.
The betting companies are making millions, and you wonder where the money is coming from.
So it's just simply that people are choosing to put money elsewhere. So they're thinking one day I'll get a bonus, but even if you're thinking I want to get a bonus at work at the end of the year of this amount, what am I actually doing at work? Am I going to go to work and appear the same way I've always appeared without putting my hand up, without taking any initiative? So I think this year is calling for the people who are very intentional and are willing to do the extra work. Apart from that, understanding, because shocks, we've just come from the conversation that shocks are not a surprise. I'm going to talk to investments just now. Shocks are not a surprise. Where's that money? Can I put aside money that if there's a shock for 3 months, I have 300,000 shillings?
At least I have a shock absorber.
Yeah, I have a shock absorber, otherwise called as an emergency fund. You can do this for your business. You should do it for your business because a lot of people ended up retrenching people, shutting down the office for a short-term shock. What you don't want to be is in a position where you have to make long-term decisions, where to get that office back again and to rehire the people is so expensive. All you needed was money to sustain you for 2 months or 3 months, and you get out and you would have been fine. But even us in our personal lives, have that shock absorber for yourself.
All right, something I would want us to also look at, because again, I'll refer to a book. We have 7 Habits of Successful People. And it seems to me that there are certain things or habits that people who have managed to get the wealth creation strategy correct, there are certain things that they do. There's a mind frame that they have. And it's not to say that that's a template that everybody must follow, but there's certainly some disciplines that they seem to have that others may not. What are some of those mind frames?
And I think this is where I'll just talk from my personal experience, because I think everybody has used...
Actually, people love stories, and especially when we personalize them, they become even juicier, because this is not just a book.
So my story is really building St. Harmony, and St. Harmony has been around for 10 years. And last year, and I kept telling people in this office, I was so surprised someone said that. They told me, Washeke, you are so lucky. I was like, lucky?
Do you have any idea?
Mad, yeah? So if I just go back to the lessons I have learned in my own journey, first of all, understand. And I think a lot of people these days have a problem understanding this. I'm telling you my story, but I'm telling you it's a 10-year journey. Yeah?
It's not something that you just woke up and boom, it was
It's not something that I woke up and boom was there. It's 10 years. Yeah? So one, you've got to be willing to put up the time. and understand it's not going to come in 1 year, it's not going to come in 2 years, it's going to come in 10 years. Some 5 years if you're lucky, but 10 years, some 15 years, some 20 years. And my journey continues, is still going on. Number two, you can't do it alone. I think even when we say we're going to save and create wealth, we go there, we stay in our little corner, we try and get our own thoughts and try and figure out how things work. So if you want to do certain investments, if you decided you're going to do property, you want to build a business, you want to do farming, and I'm really encouraging people to think beyond the traditional investments of real estate, stocks, treasury bills. Yeah, those have their place, but the real opportunities are going to be found in what is the need in the economy. Yeah, what problems can I actually solve? Go and talk to people, who are already doing it or who have some experience, and surround yourself with them. Get yourself mentors. And a mentor doesn't have to be someone who comes and sits with you every week.
Right.
A mentor could be someone who you convince to have a cup of coffee with you. Yeah, so don't try and do it alone. In Centonomy, I could not have done anything without the team that is behind Centonomy. Nothing at all, because I can't do things alone. You come with your unique skills, someone else comes to bring in something. So wealth is never created in isolation. Wealth is never created in disorder. Yeah, I've learned
there has to be order.
There has to be order. That's why I say the way you think, the way you plan your money, the way you plan your time, there has to be order behind it. If you go, it's the same way if you come to work and your desk is really cramped. How do you feel? And papers are all over.
You literally spend the first 1 hour just doing nothing but trying to
organize it, because you feel cluttered even in your head. So wealth is not created in clutter. You have to take risks. So you are going to lose something. There is a cost to this, and people don't understand that there's a cost. For me, I felt the cost in terms of, before I used to be able to go out on Friday night, pre-Centonomy. Centonomy started, we work on Saturday. Friday night went. And with Friday night going, also some relationships went. So understand whatever you want to do the pros and cons. Go and say, what is my price? So I've paid the price of time, I've paid the price of relationships, I've paid the price of fear. And this is what I mean by fear, because fear is what stops a lot of people. Fear is, I am feeling scared, but I am going to show up to that class and I am going to open my mouth and hope what I have to say means something. But you feel scared, but a lot of people are still, because I'm scared, it means something is wrong. No, fear is just a muscle that you have to master. You still go ahead. I have also learned to do research. What you think is not always, people say, I have a great idea. Fine. 40 million people have great ideas, but few people have turned that into sustainable investments or sustainable businesses. So having ideas is not the problem. So I've learned over time, talk to people, do research. And research means, if let's say it's a business, it's not about your idea, it's about the customer. Do you understand? Does a customer like your idea, or is it you who has
suddenly decided you want to
who likes your
something.
idea? I have asked for help a lot of times, Michael. So when you're stuck, people don't like saying they need help. People don't like admitting they need help, but I have had to put my hand up a lot of times and say I need help.
You need help.
I teach people at Centonomy because I myself have gone to school a lot. I've gone for so many classes because I understand I need help and I can't figure it out alone.
Now, you talked about a 10-year journey, and this is still on your journey, and you're still on the journey.
Yes.
Talk to me about the process, because there are times we fear trusting the process. We want instant results. So for you, it's taken 10 years. For another, it might even take 15. Another might be 3 or 5. But trusting the process.
Okay. So first of all, understand it unfolds. You will not get the answers up front. For some reason, I think God has said that he's not giving us the answers up front because he's testing commitment.
And faith.
And faith. I think he's testing commitment. When I started Centonomy, I did not know this is how it was going to end up. And I always this analogy in class, enter the bus. It's only when you're in the bus you can see things in a certain way. You can never see things from the bus stop. Even though you buy your ticket, plan your trip ahead, you'll enter the bus, but on the road it will detour, whatever, a part it will go fast, it will go slow. So just enter the bus. And how do you enter the bus? So wherever you are today with the goals that you have for this year, the only thing stopping you is that you have not started. It is not money that is stopping you. You don't have to wait to have 100,000 shillings. You have 1,000 shillings start. If it's a business, go and talk or try and sell it to that first customer before you try and make this whole business plan for 100 people. So start so that you start. So that's the first point. Second, the process means when you are starting, be very ready to learn. You are not an expert just because you have started. You are a student of life. Yeah. In fact, this, especially the first couple of years, is school fees. Very, very expensive
school fees. Absolutely. And that could be time,
it could be friends. Time, it could be friends, it could be the mistakes you make along the way. Like in Centonomy, one thing we did is go and get feedback from customers, no matter how painful it is, and real feedback, where they're telling you what you could have done better, not what you did well. Yeah. So open yourself to that feedback. Open yourself to discovering yourself in the journey, because as I've gone along, Centonomy was not my first business. Centonomy was my third business.
Wow.
Yeah. So even when I necessarily enter the bus, it may not be the business you end up with.
You might
5
end
years.
up entering a bus that's going in the wrong direction.
Yes.
And you have to alight and get into
alight, but you won't know it's the wrong direction until you get into the bus. So it's okay if it shows you along the way this is not for you, but I would never have known that until I entered. And what I've learned, Michael, is that there's no mistake that was actually a mistake. When you connect the dots backwards, I needed to be in that first business for me to have that conversation that gave me my aha moment that started Centonomy. Okay? Don't discount small things. When I started Centonomy, I used to do individual financial planning. First of all, you don't have to be where you think you should be for you to run the business. I was in my worst financial situation ever, but I was helping people plan their money. So you will feel like a fake in the process. That's part of the process. You will feel like a fake. But you end up, later now I can tell you, it was not.
Paid off.
It
now,
paid off. Yeah.
Washeke, there's so much I'm sure we can discuss.
Yeah.
There's so much, but maybe just to give me details, you did mention that you have an open day that's coming up, because I'm sure we can't handle this with the time that we have. Tell me a little bit about the open day as you wind up and you're parting short. Okay,
so the open day is going to be talking about just this topic we've been talking about, how to attract wealth. And what we're really looking at is, we're going to challenge people to look at the things that they have control over, because we are all, the whole economy is talking about what's wrong. But we're going to challenge people, look at the things you've been doing and how can you bring that wealth into your life. So I will be speaking more about my journey. We will also have Pastor Julian Kula joining us. We'll also have Waithaka talking, and a lot of people who've gone through Centonomy bringing their own personal stories to how they've actually done it. So it will be at All Saints at 10 a.m. this Saturday, the 26th, and I hope to see everybody there. It's free entry, so come and listen, and you'll also get to hear a lot more about how Centonomy can help you in this particular
Thank you, Washeke, for joining us this morning. And of course, that's an investment that